All right, we got another killer piece of wood from Kimball Hardwoods. Blue gum, blue eucalyptus, got a couple different names. This is grown out of Hawaii. They say it's an invasive species, but Mr. Kimball says it is some of the most beautiful wood there is. And from what he posted on Instagram, I was impressed. He said that these pieces tend to have some cracks sometimes, so we're gonna have to glue this up a little bit and then resaw. So yeah, you can see there is some end checking in this, but I could kind of sand and fill, and I don't think I'll have a problem. I thought it would be like really loose checking where I'd have to glue this before I even saw it, but this is more just sort of surface cracks, and I don't think it's that bad. This stuff is being used for boats. They say it's very similar to teak. It takes a good oil finish. Let's get some water. Let's see what it looks like. And this stuff, beautiful. Look at that. It's like a, I don't know, like a ribbon stair stub. So let's take this upstairs and re-saw it. I think we can get 2 sets of top, 1/4 inch. I got a real thin blade on my Laguna saw, and this looks like I'll be able to cut that out. Yeah, I mean, I've got enough in here for a pretty decent top. Alright, let's take it upstairs and see what we can do. Alright, so to the drum sander to flatten this out, make sure that if there's any wave in it, we flatten it out on both sides. Important to squaring up the block. I'm running 120 and 80 grit sandpaper on this. Next we'll walk this over to my Craftsman joiner 6-inch. We'll make a pass or two. Come back and lay this out so we know how the lumber is oriented. And then we'll double check the thickness, divide by 4, minus the kerf of the blade, and then we'll saw. So this is a Laguna 16 HD, top of the line bandsaw. If you're doing any resawing of scale, you need a good saw, and this does it. So we'll feed this through, get a push block to push through. And there's a little bit of checking on the outside, but once I open it up, it looks really, really nice. A little bit of Titebond wood glue, a custom clamp to keep the boards flat and pressed together. After I resawed it, I sanded so that each board was flat. And then this gets a perfect join, and I've got a whole bunch of clamps to get it to look perfect. Here I'm looking for cracks and some Insta content. Everyone loves seeing this wood. And then to the bandsaw where we cut this up. Here I still don't have the vacuum cleaner attachment, so this is before that other video I just did. Trim this up. Got my toddler drawn template. Take this over to the wine press clamp, clamp it up with some hide glue, and then we're going to trim the birch back. So I've got some flame birch that's pretty. Work through the corners. Looking good. So then here's the shaper, and the video I did with the shaper got a lot of comments
And I wanted to clarify, when I'm doing this, I cut as much of the waste away from the top as I can. That way I'm really shaping a minimal amount, and it really reduces the grab of the bit on the material. And also, as I'm coming in off the side, there's no end grain, it's just straight chipping out. And then if I was using handles here, that's more of a side-to-side strength than a downward strength. And so I really want to put the downward pressure and keep the piece, the body on the table. And that's why I have my hands flat. And if it grabs, my hands just go down. So I've done this before. I've done it a couple times. This is what I feel really comfortable at doing. The whiskey barrel template is even better. I'd say this is probably not as ideal. So I'll show that moving forward with that template. We then come back with the rigid oscillating sanders. You see I got 2 of them lined up with that bit. I only really need to sand with 220. It's really clean. Then we're going to come back with a round over bit. We're going to do a real light round over. This is my new workstation that is for sanding and routing. I've got the huge dust collector running, picking up some of these chips. Really cleans up the garage nicely. And then here is the awesome flap sander. Really helps just improve my processes by a bazillion. So we'll sand the edges with 220. Actually, no, this is 180. And we'll clean up at 180. We'll come back and hand sand it with 220 and 320 relatively quickly. And we're good to go. Really like having this tool. And then we come back with 220 and 320, and we sand the top and the sides ever so slightly. You can see I've got a new dust collector running from the Menards sander I'm running, Mastercraft sander, and really reduces the dust. My eyes have been bothering me a little bit from the dust, and this really pulls the dust down significantly. So the downdraft table and the vacuumed sander is perfect. We put my standard template on. We're going to do a humbucker in the neck and a standard telly bridge pickup. Going to top route for the neck and pickups. And then we're going to flip this over and route backside for the control cavity. Going to do my control wiring hole, and then I use a center finding punch for the output jack, and we'll get a pilot hole drilled here, and then we'll come back with this step bit, 7/8 step bit, and it significantly reduces the amount of work that's going on here. Look at that. Boom. Right through real quick. This is the rear routing for the control cavity. And then we're going to use some velvet oil. Did a video on velvet oil. This is actually going to be 3 coats. First coat goes on real thick. Let it sit for a half hour. Second coat, I get a 600 grit piece of sandpaper and get that slurry to sort of fill in any pores. And then the third coat just cleans it up. I've done bodies where I just used 1 coat. Here's the 600 grit sandpaper for the second coat. Let this dry for a week each time. And the back and the top look outstanding. So we'll go back live in video here.
Here is the Blue Gum Eucalyptus guitar body. It's on a piece of hollowed out birch. and I put 3 coats of that velvet oil on, and man, does this guitar body feel smooth. This last coat of velvet oil I sanded with 600 grit, and it feels like velvet. It's got just an awesome all natural finish. The birch is flame birch, and there was one little pocket right there that ran through, and that's how we get that little line there. At first I thought that was a stain. You can see the wood goes from light to dark, and that was a wannabe tree branch or something along those lines. Nice figure, a little bit of grain run out, but cool looking guitar body, nice and light. Did my standard configuration, which is telly, bridge, and humbucker neck. That way you get a little bit of everything, but just my process to build a guitar body. So thanks for watching, guys. We will see you in the next video.